There weren't any books when I was a kid on how to deal with trauma. You know, they didn't have parenting books sitting on the coffee table. So this book came to me in the middle of the night, and I thought, I've got to get this out there. Kids need to know how to identify trauma and release the shock. So I wrote this book. Now, you might be thinking, I don't have trauma. Why would I buy this book? And I have to explain, if you're alive today, you've experienced some sort of trauma. So trauma can be things like a tornado touching down in your town, in your state. Trauma can be growing up in a dysfunctional or an alcoholic home. Trauma can be you have to move every year because your parent is in the military or they've lost their job and you have to start school all over again. Those are obvious, direct traumas, but trauma can also be vicarious. Listening to the news and the events that are happening today can be very traumatizing. Hearing a parent yell at their child in the grocery store, that can be traumatizing. Falling off your bike. You know, the younger you are, the less resources you have. And if you're feeling helpless or overwhelmed or trapped, or if traumas happen over and over and over, they not only become traumatic for you, they also can turn into shock. So let me explain a little bit about trauma. Trauma affects us in several ways. What our body does when we feel threatened by a trauma is it has this beautiful organic response to go into the fight, flight, or freeze response. So the fight response is where you get activated and you want to do some sort of battle or you want to move towards the situation. The flight is where you just want to run. You want to get out of there and get away from the trauma as fast as you can. The freeze response is where you go like that deer in the headlights and you completely shut down. You go numb. So those are great responses, and it's important for our bodies to do that, to take care of us. But if the trauma is happening, like I said, over and over, those become your default responses, or your body automatically chooses that response when you're not even in a threatening situation. So that fight or flight, your heart rate increases, your breathing goes fast, your adrenaline's kicked in, you're ready to move, you're ready to either run or move towards it. Whereas that freeze response, your breathing slows down, your heart rate slows down, you might not even be breathing anymore, and the adrenaline just really subsides. Now, if you were an animal out in nature, you would literally shake it off. Once the threat was over, your body would completely shake it off. We do that as babies, but then we forget to do it the older we get. And certainly as adults, we don't think to shake off the trauma. So when it happens to us over and over and over, then we go into shock. And shock is that default place where I'm not even in a threatening situation and I'm ready to fight. We see shock in people who are constantly busy, who constantly have to have lists, who constantly have to be in movement, or who are late all the time, in people who avoid confrontation, avoid conflict, want nothing to do with it. That's the flight. And then we see that freeze mode in people who, they're right in front of you, but they're a million miles away. They're checked out. They're always checked out. And what's hard for kids is, so our brains do this, and they're beautiful responses, except if we keep doing them. What's hard for kids is their brains can't learn if they're always in fight, flight, or freeze mode. So that's really important for children. That is why this book is for children especially, but we all have a child inside of us. And so it's that inner child that also needs to heal. So he tells him how to do it, like, yell into your hands, stomp your feet on the ground, cry, sigh. And Gilbert has to practice, practice, practice.